The boardroom fell silent as I clicked to the final slide of my presentation. The budget numbers glowed across the screen like a spotlight aimed directly at Karen, her smug expression twisted into horror as she realized what she was. Looking at a $5,000 increase in HOA fees, her manicured nails dug into the table. "What is this?" she snapped, her voice rising higher with every word. "Who approved this? This is completely unacceptable." I straightened my tie, taking my time before answering. I'd been waiting weeks for this moment. "You did, Karen," I said calmly. "The moment you fined me $1,000 for swimming in my own lake. But before we get there, let me explain how this all started. My name's David. I've lived in Willow Creek Estates for 15 years. When I bought my property, it wasn't the 4-bedroom colonial that sold me, or even the 3-car garage. It was the lake, a beautiful 20-acre stretch of blue water called Crystal Lake. Half of it lies on my land, the other half borders the HOA community. It was perfect, peaceful. For years, everything worked fine. I'd swim every morning, neighbors would wave, and sometimes I'd let the HOA host their summer picnic on my shore. Everyone was happy. Then Karen became HOA president. You know the type, the blazer, the clipboard, the fake smile that says, "I'm about to ruin your weekend." She arrived at her first meeting with a leather notebook, color-coded tabs, and a mission: restore order. Within a month, she'd sent out 17 warning letters for grass too long, mailboxes too tall, and fences an inch over regulation height. She literally carried a ruler in her purse. I tried to stay out of it. Until one sunny Saturday in June, I was out for my usual morning swim, floating on my back, when I heard it, that high-pitched, nails-on-glass voice. "Excuse me." "Sir, excuse me." I opened one eye. There she was, Karen, standing at the shoreline in a navy blazer, in 90-degree weather, waving a clipboard like a flag of war. "You need to exit the water immediately." I swam a bit closer, careful not to get too close. Something told me she might try a citizen's arrest with that clipboard. "Morning, Karen," I said. "Beautiful day for a swim." "Swimming is strictly prohibited in community bodies of water," she barked, reading straight from her papers. HOA Regulation 7.3.9 clearly states that all recreational water activity requires board approval and proper insurance documentation. I blinked. "This is my lake, Karen. I own it. You can check the property records yourself." She adjusted her oversized sunglasses, the kind that scream, "I need to speak to your manager." The HOA governs all shared natural spaces within the community. Since this lake borders HOA property, it falls under our jurisdiction. "That's not how property law works," I said, swimming toward my dock. Her voice followed me across the water. "We'll see what our lawyers say. Consider yourself on notice." I laughed it off. Surely once she saw the deed, this nonsense would end. I underestimated her. The following Monday, I got a certified letter, official HOA letterhead and everything. It accused me of unauthorized use of community resources and fined me $1,000. 3 full pages of nonsense, citing fake regulations and threatening legal action for endangering community safety. I tried being reasonable. I copied my deed, highlighted where it showed my ownership of the lake, attached the original 1952 survey, the water rights documentation, even a signed note from the previous HOA president, acknowledging my private ownership. I hand-delivered it all to her house. She opened the door wearing another blazer, this one pink, like she had a whole wardrobe. "Dedicated to HOA tyranny, David," she said flatly, not even glancing at the papers. "The fine stands." "The board has spoken." "The board?" I asked. "When exactly did the board meet about this?" "Emergency session," she replied with that fake smile that never reached her eyes. "We take safety violations very seriously." I later found out the board consisted of Karen and her 2 friends meeting at a Starbucks. Then came more letters, one almost every day. She filed complaints with the city, started rumors with neighbors, even told people I was planning to open a water park. I knew then that reasoning wouldn't work, so I decided to fight back. For 2 weeks straight, I combed through HOA records, contracts, and decades of dusty bylaws. That's when I found it, the smoking gun. an old easement agreement from 1998 granting the HOA permission to use part of my property for lake maintenance access. It covered the small beach they used for community events and the gravel road for their trucks. But here's the catch. It expired after 25 years unless renewed. It was now 2024. Nobody had renewed it. I confirmed everything with my lawyer. He actually laughed. So she fined you for using your own property while they're technically trespassing on yours? Oh, this is going to be fun. I waited for the next HOA meeting, Karen's favorite stage. She ran those like court hearings, complete with a gavel she probably bought off Amazon. I signed up for public comment and waited for my turn. When she finally called my name, her tone was dripping with disdain. Thank you. Madam President, I began, matching her formality. I'd like to discuss the expiration of the easement agreement between the HOA and my property. The room went dead silent. Karen froze, her hand twitching toward her gavel. The HOA's legal access to the northern section of Crystal Lake, including the beach and maintenance road, expired 6 months ago, I continued. I've allowed the continued use out of goodwill, but recent events have made me reconsider. Karen turned red, then white, then purple. This is ridiculous. We've used that access for decades. Without legal authorization for the past 6 months, I clarified. My attorney has prepared a new lease agreement. The terms are fair, $5,000 annually. The gasps echoed through the room. Someone even dropped their coffee. $5,000? Karen shrieked. That's extortion. That's market rate for lakefront access, I replied calmly. If anything, I'm giving you a discount. But of course, you're free to decline and lose access entirely. The board members started whispering frantically. The treasurer, Tom Bradley, was already crunching numbers on his laptop. Karen looked ready to explode. You can't do this! Actually, I said, sliding copies of the lease across the table, I can. You have 30 days to decide. After that, I'll be installing a gate. The next few weeks were chaos, glorious, righteous chaos. News spread fast. The same neighbors who had avoided me now wanted Karen's head. The HOA Facebook group blew up with calls for emergency meetings and cries for accountability. Karen tried everything: cease and desist letters, legal threats, even calling the city. None of it worked. Every lawyer told her the same thing. The HOA was trespassing. Finally, with 2 days left before the deadline, they called an emergency meeting, a real one this time. The community center was packed. Some people stood in the aisles. Others live-streamed it. Karen sat at the head table wearing a severe black suit, looking like she was attending her own funeral, which in a way she was. The vote was quick and unanimous. Karen voted no, of course, but it passed 4-1. The lease was approved. Everyone's HOA fees went up to cover the new cost, and the aftermath? Beautiful. The same neighbors who'd once supported Karen now turned against her. The Facebook group was filled with memes and furious posts. Someone even made one of her face on the Titanic with the caption, "I'll never let go of my clipboard." At the next meeting, residents lined up to voice their disappointment. Mrs. Patterson, a retired teacher who hadn't spoken in 10 years, delivered a brutal speech about fiscal responsibility. She ended with, "Maybe some board members should ask themselves if they're really serving the community." That night, a recall petition started circulating. Within a week, it had more than enough signatures. On the morning of the recall vote, I went for a swim. As I floated in the water, I could see Karen's car in the community center parking lot. She'd arrived early to campaign, handing out cookies and flyers. By noon, the cookies were untouched. By evening, the results were in. 87% voted to remove her. The largest margin in HOA history. When they read the results aloud, Karen stood up, clutching her leather notebook like a shield. "This is a mistake," she cried. "I was maintaining standards. You'll regret this when property values drop." Someone in the back laughed. Karen's face crumbled. She gathered her purse, her clipboard, and that cursed ruler, and stormed out, heels clicking like a countdown to her exile. A week later, the new board sent me an apology letter and refunded my $1,000 fine plus interest. They proposed a new lease for just $500 a year and promised cooperation going forward. I accepted immediately. The next day, I installed a new sign at the entrance to my section of the lake. In big friendly letters, it read, "Private property, swim free," and underneath, in smaller print, "HOA leadership not welcome." The last I heard, Karen had listed her house for sale and moved 3 counties over, probably searching for another HOA to terrorize. As for me, I still swim every morning. Sometimes I float on my back and think about that boardroom meeting, the moment her face fell when she saw those numbers. It was worth every penny, every late night, every ounce of patience, because sometimes the best way to beat a Karen is to let her hang herself with her own red tape.